Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Hollywood Remembers video. Today, we're honoring the American stars we've recently lost, along with other beloved figures who have touched our lives around the world. Before we dive in, if this video resonates with you, we'd truly appreciate a like. It helps us continue sharing these heartfelt tributes with the respect and care they deserve. Thank you for your support. And now, let's begin.
Don Adams stood as a steady, soulful presence in the golden age of American country music. A gifted singer, bassist, and songwriter, he helped shape the sound of an era through his work with George Jones's legendary backing band, the Jones Boys, and as a longtime member of Johnny Paycheck's band. During the vibrant years of the 1960s and 70s outlaw country movement, Adams brought quiet strength and authenticity to every stage he graced. Many remember the heartfelt sincerity of his solo hit, "I've Already Stayed Too Long," a song that captured longing and reflection in a way only true country music can. In that performance, his voice carried both tenderness and wisdom, reminding listeners of life's hard truths and enduring hopes. It was not merely a song, it was a shared moment, a story sung straight from the heart. Beyond the spotlight, Don Adams was a musician's musician, dedicated, humble, and deeply respected by his peers. His steady bass lines and harmonies formed the backbone of countless unforgettable performances, leaving an imprint on the very fabric of outlaw country. His influence continues to echo in the artists who followed and in the timeless recordings that still play in homes across America. As we honor his life and legacy, let us reflect on the comfort and joy his music brought into our lives. If his songs touched your heart, share your memories and the moments that meant the most to you. In remembering Don Adams, we celebrate not only a remarkable artist, but a lasting spirit of country music itself.
Bradley Kirk Arnold was more than a singer. He was a voice that carried the spirit of a generation. As a founding member of Three Doors Down in 1996, alongside Todd Harrell and Matt Roberts, he helped shape the sound of late 1990s and early 2000s rock with sincerity, grit, and heart. Born in Escatawpa, Mississippi, Bradley brought Southern soul into mainstream rock, creating music that spoke to perseverance, faith, and the quiet strength found in everyday life. When Kryptonite first reached the airwaves, it became an anthem for millions. His unmistakable voice, strong yet vulnerable, captured the uncertainty and hope of a changing era. In concerts across the country, audiences felt not just entertained, but understood. Bradley had a rare gift. He sang as if he were telling your own story back to you. Through the years, he remained devoted to his craft and to his fans, grounding fame with humility and gratitude. His lyrics reflected resilience and belief, themes that resonated deeply with listeners who had weathered life's triumphs and trials. Even beyond the spotlight, his influence endures in the songs that continue to play at family gatherings, on long drives, and in moments of reflection. As we remember Bradley Kirk Arnold, let us celebrate a life lived in music and meaning. His voice may be silent, but his songs remain. If his music marked a chapter in your life, share your memories and the moments his voice carried you through. In honoring him, we keep his spirit alive, steady, heartfelt, and forever inspiring.
Shelley Desai was a distinguished actor whose presence enriched American stage and screen for more than 5 decades. Born in Mumbai, India, he carried his heritage with quiet pride, building a career defined by dignity, craft, and perseverance. Audiences came to know him through memorable roles in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Men of a Certain Age, where his performances brought warmth, subtle humor, and humanity to every scene. Over the course of 50 remarkable years, Shelley's work in theater, television, and film reflected a deep devotion to storytelling. Whether in intimate stage productions or beloved television series, he approached each role with sincerity and grace. Viewers often recall the gentle authority he brought to the screen, never overstated, always authentic. His career stood as a testament to patience, resilience, and the belief that meaningful artistry transcends borders and generations. Beyond his performances, Shelley Desai represented the quiet strength of immigrant voices in American entertainment. He opened doors through talent and integrity, inspiring countless aspiring actors to pursue their dreams without abandoning their roots. His legacy lives on in the characters he portrayed and in the respect he earned from colleagues and audiences alike. As we reflect on his life, we celebrate not only an accomplished actor, but a man who gave his gifts generously and consistently. If Shelley Desai's work touched your heart, share your memories and the moments that stayed with you. In remembering him, we honor a life devoted to art, culture, and the enduring power of storytelling.
There is something quietly astonishing about a voice that refuses to thin with time. In an era that often trades endurance for novelty, Engelbert Humperdinck stands not as a relic of another age, but as a continuing presence, steady, composed, unmistakably himself. His name alone carries a certain theatrical sweep, yet the man behind it has always revealed a temperament marked less by spectacle than by devotion. Decade after decade, he has walked onto stages around the world not to chase relevance, but to honor a bond formed long ago between singer and listener. What distinguishes him now in these mature years is not simply that he still performs, it is the manner in which he does so. There is no strain in the gesture, no desperation in the phrasing. Instead, there is an ease born of experience, a confidence shaped by seasons of applause and quiet evenings alike. The voice, warm, rounded, and unmistakably romantic, has settled into itself like a well-loved instrument polished by time. It does not compete with memory, it converses with it. Many artists burn brightly and briefly, their brilliance tied to a specific cultural moment. Engelbert's path has been different. His rise in the late 1960s, when "Release Me" became an anthem of longing, might have defined a lesser performer. For him, it became a foundation. The years that followed were not merely extensions of that triumph, but expansions of character. He navigated shifting tastes and changing industries without surrendering the essential quality that first drew millions to him: sincerity. There is a particular dignity in constancy. Audiences who first heard him on vinyl have returned to hear him in concert halls, casinos, theaters, and grand arenas. They have carried his songs through marriages, relocations, celebrations, and private griefs. In return, he has carried their loyalty as something sacred. That exchange, so rarely spoken of in modern entertainment, forms the true architecture of his career. It is less about charts and more about companionship across time. His stage presence today carries the patina of long familiarity. The tailored suits, the measured movements, the slight smile before a sustained note, all suggest an artist who understands that performance is not an act of domination, but of offering. He does not rush a lyric. He allows it to breathe, trusting that the audience will meet him there. In that patience, one senses gratitude rather than ambition. Behind the scenes, stories of his professionalism circulate with quiet admiration. Musicians speak of rehearsals approached with care, of respect shown to every member of a touring ensemble. Such habits, accumulated over years, form a character as surely as any hit single. Fame may introduce a singer to the world, but discipline keeps him worthy of the introduction. There is also resilience woven into his narrative. Health challenges, personal trials, and the natural passage of years have not diminished his commitment. Instead, they have refined it. When he steps into the spotlight now, it is with the knowledge that each appearance is an affirmation of continuity, not defiance, not nostalgia. Continuity. A life in music still unfolding. For those who have followed him across decades, there is comfort in that unfolding. His concerts feel less like events and more like reunions. The familiar melodies arrive not as echoes of a distant youth, but as companions walking beside the present moment. He understands this dynamic instinctively. He sings not to recreate yesterday, but to illuminate today with yesterday's warmth. And so Engelbert Humperdinck remains, not suspended in memory, but active within it. He embodies the rare truth that longevity in art is not accidental. It is cultivated through respect for the craft, for the audience, for the gift itself. In watching him continue, one is reminded that some voices do more than entertain. They accompany us. Before the name filled marquees and shimmered in bold lettering above theatre entrances, there was a young man named Arnold George Dorsey, navigating the uncertain corridors of post-war Britain. He was born in Madras in what was then British India and carried with him the layered inheritance of 2 continents long before he understood what that might mean. The family's relocation to Leicester placed him in a world still recovering from conflict, where practicality was prized and dreams were often kept modest. Yet even then, music moved through his life with a quiet insistence. In those early years, the future did not appear theatrical. There were ordinary jobs, modest stages, small gatherings where songs were offered without ceremony. Illness interrupted his momentum more than once, testing both health and confidence. Tuberculosis in his youth forced a pause that might have discouraged a less determined spirit. Instead, it instilled patience. Recovery demanded stillness, and stillness has a way of clarifying desire. When he returned to performing, it was with a deeper understanding that time itself is fragile and therefore precious. The transformation into Engelbert Humperdinck was, in part, an act of courage. The name, borrowed from the 19th century German composer, seemed almost audacious in its grandeur. Industry executives wondered if audiences would accept it, yet there was a strategic brilliance in its distinctiveness. In a field crowded with familiar-sounding crooners, this improbable name invited curiosity. More importantly, it marked a decisive step into self-definition. Arnold Dorsey did not disappear. He evolved, shaping an identity that could carry the scale of his ambition. When Release Me emerged in 1967, it did more than climb charts. It disrupted expectations. At a moment when youthful rebellion dominated headlines, here was a ballad delivered with unabashed romantic gravity. The song's success was not merely commercial. It signaled that longing, tenderness, and sustained melody still held power. Audiences responded not because it was fashionable, but because it was heartfelt. The record's ascent famously kept other chart toppers from claiming the top position, an achievement often retold, yet still remarkable in its context. What followed was a whirlwind of touring and recording, yet the foundation remained disciplined work. Las Vegas became a second home, its stages demanding consistency night after night. There, under bright lights and before diverse crowds, he refined the craft of live performance. Vegas, in those years, was a proving ground where charisma had to be renewed daily. Engelbert met that challenge with a blend of polish and accessibility, never allowing grandeur to eclipse warmth. Television appearances carried his image into living rooms across continents. For many families, his presence on screen became a familiar ritual, an evening accompaniment that required no explanation. He sang of devotion, separation, hope, and reconciliation, themes as old as poetry itself. In doing so, he positioned himself not as a fleeting idol, but as a custodian of emotion expressed through melody. Yet beneath the public narrative lay quieter realities. Long stretches away from home, the demands of constant travel, the balancing act between professional obligation and personal life. Such sacrifices rarely appear in album liner notes, but they shape the resilience of an artist. Engelbert's ability to sustain momentum through decades owes much to these unseen disciplines. The early chapters of his story reveal not inevitability, but choice. At each turning point, after illness, after modest beginnings, after the gamble of a new name, he chose continuation. He chose to refine rather than retreat. That pattern, established in youth, would echo throughout the years to come. There is a particular kind of influence that does not announce itself. It does not arrive with manifestos or cultural declarations. It settles quietly into households, into private rituals, into the spaces between memory and daily routine. Engelbert Humperdinck's presence has often operated in this manner. His songs have lingered in kitchens during evening preparations, in living rooms after the children were asleep, in car radios during long drives home. The impact is less about spectacle and more about accompaniment. For many couples who came of age in the late 1960s and 1970s, his voice became intertwined with courtship. A record placed gently on a turntable, the first slow dance in a modest apartment, the steady assurance of a melody that seemed to understand longing without embarrassment. Romance in his repertoire was not ironic or guarded. It was earnest. In an era that would later grow more self-aware, even cynical, that earnestness now feels almost radical in its sincerity. The endurance of that sincerity explains much about his lasting appeal. While musical fashions evolved through disco rhythms, synthesizers, and digital experimentation, Engelbert maintained a core commitment to melodic storytelling. He did not reject change, but neither did he chase it anxiously. Instead, he allowed his voice to remain the central instrument, trusting that a well-shaped phrase could outlast any trend. This steadiness offered listeners a kind of refuge. There is also the matter of generational continuity. Children who once heard his records playing in their parents' homes have grown into adults who recognize those same songs as part of their inheritance. The melodies become bridges, carrying shared experiences across decades. When a daughter recalls her mother humming The Last Waltz while folding laundry, or a son remembers his father adjusting the radio dial to catch a televised performance, Engelbert's work becomes more than entertainment. It becomes connective tissue within a family's history. In concert halls today, this layered audience is visible. Silver-haired couples sit beside middle-aged listeners and younger admirers who discovered him through recordings or online archives. The applause carries multiple timelines at once. He acknowledges them all with the same gracious nod, as though understanding that his role has expanded beyond singer to custodian of shared memory. Such a role cannot be manufactured. It is earned gradually, through reliability. Critics over the years have sometimes debated categories: crooner, balladeer, pop traditionalist. Yet these labels feel secondary to the lived experience of those who have carried his songs with them. What matters most is not classification, but presence. His recordings have offered solace during hospital stays, accompaniment during quiet anniversaries, comfort in moments of private reflection. They have been played at celebrations and at commemorations, woven into the texture of life's milestones. One might observe that his artistry has never depended on grand reinvention. Instead, it has thrived on refinement. A sustained note slightly softened with age can convey a depth unavailable to youthful exuberance. The subtle shading of a lyric, informed by decades of living, carries an authority that cannot be hurried. This is where influence deepens, not through novelty, but through accumulation. Behind every enduring artist stands a community of listeners who find themselves reflected in the music. Engelbert's community spans continents, yet it feels intimate. Fan letters, conversations after performances, expressions of gratitude that reference not fame but companionship. These interactions reveal an exchange of trust. He offers voice and presence, they offer loyalty and affection. As the years continue their steady passage, the measure of his significance becomes clearer. It resides not only in record sales or televised specials, but in the quiet recognition that certain songs have become woven into personal narratives. Engelbert Humperdinck's influence is therefore not confined to stages or studios. It lives within the everyday, in moments when memory and melody gently converge. Time has a way of revealing what spectacle cannot sustain. When the brightness of headlines fades and the urgency of fashion recedes, what remains is character. In the long arc of Engelbert Humperdinck's life in music, character has proven to be the enduring center. It is visible not only in the polished performances and carefully tailored appearances, but in the quieter dimensions of responsibility, devotion, and steady purpose that have accompanied him across decades. Marriage, family, and the rhythms of home have formed a counterpoint to the glare of international touring. For more than half a century, he has shared his life with his wife, Patricia, a partnership that unfolded alongside his public ascent. The constancy of that bond, maintained despite the demands of travel and performance, speaks to a private discipline often overshadowed by public admiration. In interviews over the years, he has referred to family not as an accessory to fame, but as its grounding force. There have been seasons of strain. The life of a touring artist can be exacting, with distances measured not only in miles, but in missed birthdays and quiet evenings postponed. Yet Engelbert's approach to these tensions has reflected a broader philosophy. Success holds little meaning if it is not shared with those who sustain it. As his children grew and later as grandchildren arrived, the narrative of his life expanded beyond stage lights into generational continuity. The applause of strangers is gratifying. The laughter of family is anchoring. Health challenges within the family have also tested that anchoring. When Patricia faced illness in later years, Engelbert's public schedule coexisted with deeply personal concern. In such moments, celebrity dissolves into humanity. The singer, known for grand romantic gestures on stage, revealed a quieter steadfastness off stage, demonstrating that devotion is measured less by words than by presence. Observers who have followed his journey recognize this dimension as integral to understanding the man himself. His philanthropic engagements further illuminate this aspect of character. Support for medical research, involvement in charitable events, and attention to causes connected to personal experience reflect a belief that visibility carries responsibility. He has not treated his platform as a pedestal, but as an opportunity for contribution. These actions rarely dominate headlines, yet they deepen respect among those who look beyond record charts. Professionally, he has continued to record and tour well into his later years, not out of habit but from conviction. There is a difference between routine and calling. Routine repeats, calling renews. Each appearance, whether in an intimate theatre or a larger venue, bears the imprint of someone who understands the privilege of being heard. He does not lean on nostalgia as a crutch. Instead, he integrates past and present, allowing familiar songs to coexist with newer interpretations shaped by lived experience. Observers sometimes note the elegance of his bearing, the measured cadence of his speech, the deliberate pace at which he moves through public engagements. These qualities are not affectations, they are the outward signs of an inner tempo refined over time. In a culture that often rewards haste, such deliberation stands apart. It suggests confidence not in trend, but in substance. As the decades accumulate, what becomes most striking is not merely that Engelbert Humperdinck has endured, but how he has endured. Without dramatic reinventions or calculated controversy, he has sustained a career rooted in authenticity. He has allowed maturity to inform his artistry rather than conceal it. The lines on his face, the timbre of his voice, the reflective tone of his interviews all testify to a life fully inhabited. In considering his journey, one recognizes that influence need not be loud to be lasting. It can be steady, composed, attentive. Engelbert's story affirms that presence, when maintained with integrity, becomes its own quiet form of distinction.